Shalom, shalom, holy chaver. We continue in Maseches Taanis. We are now about halfway through the entire Masechta, which is incredibly exciting. We are beginning Tes Vav Amud Beis today, 15b. We are 10 lines from the top. And again, we are in the middle of all the Mishnayos. As I pointed out yesterday, the entire Perek 2, Perek Sheni of this Masechta, puts all of the Mishnayos in the Perek right at the beginning. And the same thing is going to happen in chapter 3 and chapter 4, Perek Gimel and Perek Daled, and that's the entire Masechta. There's only 4 parakim. So this is going to happen with the remainder of the Masechta. We are now we did 5 Mishnayos yesterday. Today we're going to do the last 5. We're going to go Mishnayos 6 through 10. And before we get into these Mishnayos, a little bit of background is necessary, and that is that the Kohanim used to be broken up into 24 different groups. And each week, one of the groups would be that group's week to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. So that week, and this was based on the families of Kohanim, based on your family, which family you came from, which family you were descended from. That's the group you would be put with. So these 24 rotating Kohanim, each of these groups would serve in the Beis HaMikdash for 1 week, and the group itself was divided into 7 subgroups, and these 7 subgroups each would serve 1 day of the week. That's according to Rashi here. There's a Rashi in Menachos, I believe, which has a slightly different opinion. What he says is they were broken up into 6 groups, and these 6 groups would serve Sunday through Friday, and then on the seventh day on Shabbos, all of the groups would be all hands on deck, so to speak. So that's kind of the way it was broken up. That was during the year. On the Regalim, on Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuos, I believe also on Yom Kippur and on Rosh Hashanah, the Beis HaMikdash would be all hands on deck in terms of all the Kohanim would be there helping with all the increased labor needs for all the Jews coming and bringing their korbanos and all the things they needed to do in the Beis HaMikdash during those weeks. So if you do the math, it's kind of the 3 main Yomim Tovim. Each of them are about a week long. And then the other Yom Tovim that all the Kohanim are coming in for let's say Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur. So with the remainder of the year, your family of Kohanim is there about 2 weeks. So 2 weeks a year. So if you divide the rest of the year into 48 weeks with 24 families, you'd be showing up twice. So 2 non-Chag weeks a year, and this was the how the Kohanim would serve the Beis HaMikdash, and this is how they kept going throughout the entire year. This was sort of their system. The 24 groups were called the Mishmaros, and each group was called the Anshe Mishmar, the men of that Mishmar. And the groups which each Mishmar were broken into for the entire week were called the Beis Av, or Batei Avos, that the house of the father. That was their day during the week, which they would be working. So with that background, we can get into Mishnah Vav, and let's get right into it. Shalosh Taanis Rishonos, the first 3, during the first 3 fasts, Anshe Mishmar, that whole group of Kohanim, the 1 in 24 who are serving that week, Mit'anin v'lo mashlimin. They start the fast, but they don't finish the fast. V'anshe Beis Av, but the Kohanim of the more specific subgroup, where it's their specific day to work in the Beis HaMikdash, lo hayu mit'anim kla. They would not have to fast at all. Shalosh Shnios, the middle 3 fasts, Anshe Mishmar mit'anin mashlimin. Then the Anshe Mishmar would have to fast the entire day. V'anshe Beis Av mit'anim ve'in v'lo mashlimin. And then the specific Kohanim working that particular day, they would fast and not complete the fast. Again, getting more stringent as the time went on, and they have to continue the fasting. Sheva Achronos, and on the 7 final fasts, Elu ve'elu mit'anim v'shlam umashlimin. All the Kohanim, no matter if they were working, even if it was their specific day, had to fast the entire day. It was already that serious. Divrei Rabbi Yoshua. That's according to Rabbi Yoshua. The Chachamim Omer, but according to the Chachamim, they had a slightly more makil approach. Shalosh Ta'anios Rishonos, the first 3 fasts, Elu ve'elu lo hayu mit'anim klal. Nobody would have to fast at all. None of those Kohanim. Shalosh Shnios, the middle 3 fasts, Anshe Mishmar mit'anim v'lo mashlimin. Then the Anshe Mishmar would have to fast, but they wouldn't complete the fast. Anshe Beis Av lo hayu mit'anim klal. But the people working that day, they would not have to fast at all. And Sheva Achronos, the last 7 fasts, Anshe Mishmar mit'anim mashlimin. Then the general family of Kohanim would have to start fast, but they wouldn't have to finish. V'anshe beis av mitanim velo. Sorry, the general group 1 and 24 would have to fast the entire day. V'anshe beis av mitanim velo mashlimin, and then the specific Kohanim working that day would begin their fast but would not finish the fast. That is how we hold. That is how the halacha is brought down, where the halachos are discussed. So that was Mishnah Vav. We continue into Mishnah Zayin. Anshe Mishmar mutar l'shtos yayin balelos. The Kohanim who are there for the entire week, they're allowed to drink wine at night, avalo b'yamim, but they're not allowed to drink during the day. Now this is a new Mishnah. Now since we had a Mishnah before connected to the Taanis which we were discussing about Anshe Mishmar, the Mishnah uses that as a springboard to now continue talking about other unrelated halachos about Anshe Mishmar. The wine that we're talking about here has nothing to do with the fasting, but we are in the same vein talking about Anshe Mishmar now. Va'anshe beis av lo bayom v'lo v'layla. The Kohanim working that day could not drink any wine, not the night before, not during the day they're working, not at all. Anshe Mishmar va'anshe ma'amad. The Anshe Mishmar and the Anshe ma'amad, and the Anshe ma'amad are the divisions not of Kohanim, but of the Levim and Yisraelim who would be going to the Beis HaMikdash to help work and do certain things that they needed to do for purposes of korbanos and whatever during the entire year. Asurin milisaper milchabes. They were not allowed to get haircuts, and they're not allowed to do laundry. V'chamishi mutarin, but they were allowed to do these things on Thursday, mipnei kavod Shabbos, because of the honor of Shabbos. And as we see, kavod Shabbos sometimes lets us be more lenient in certain halachic things. We saw that with the stores that were open or closed on Thursday that were not the same way on Monday because of kavod Shabbos. That was Mishnah Zayin. We move on to Mishnah Ches. Kol hakasuv b'Megillas Taanis dilo lemispade. Everything which is written in Megillas Taanis, which says that we're not allowed to have hespedim on that day, meaning all the Yamim Tovim. And as we discussed before, Megillas Taanis was a book where they recorded all the special holidays which came up during Bayis Sheni or before. And the only real halachic significance of these days is some of them we couldn't give eulogies, and some of them we couldn't fast on them. So the Mishnah is going to discuss several of these holidays. That whichever holidays in Megillas Taanis, which said we're not allowed to do eulogies on them, lefanav asur, we're not allowed to give eulogies the day before, la'achor of mutter, but the day after we are allowed to give eulogies on that day. Rabbi Yossi Amar, but according to Rabbi Yossi, lefanav ula achor of asur, we're not allowed to give eulogies neither the day before or the day after. So it's essentially a 3-day block. That if the day one, let's say day number 5 was a yontif, then on day 4 and on day 6, according to Rabbi Yossi, no hespedim. The little hit an abahem, whichever holidays was said that we're not allowed to do any fasting on those days. Lifanav ula acharav mutter. On the day before and on the day after, it would be permitted to fast. That's the general opinion in the Mishnah. However, Rabbi Yossi Omer, according to Rabbi Yossi, lifanav asur, the day before you're not allowed to fast. La'acharav mutter, but the day after you are allowed to fast. So fasting is a little bit more lenient than hespedim. That was Mishnah Zayin. We move on to Mishnah, that was Mishnah Ches. We move on to Mishnah Tes. Ein gozerin Taanis ala tzibor. We are not allowed to make a Taanis on the community, betchila b'chamishi. That begins on Thursday. All fast days have to start on Monday. Why? Shalol hafkiya she'arim. So we shouldn't inundate the markets. Now what that means, we discussed this earlier because this Mishnah came up on a previous Amud, that if the fast days began on a Thursday, then people are not going to go to the marketplace. They're not going to get what they need for Shabbos, and they're going to rush to the marketplace on Friday to buy, or they might rush to the marketplace on Wednesday to buy not only food they need for the fast day, but also food they need for Shabbos. And so the vendors, the people who are selling food, are going to see all these people coming, and they're going to think something crazy is going to happen. They think that someone heard news, maybe there's going to be a famine, and they're going to raise the prices like crazy. We don't want that to happen. We want to avoid that. So therefore, we start the fast on Monday, so people buy all the extra food on Sunday or Tuesday, and don't crash the market on getting everything at the same time on Thursday. Ella shalosh ta'anios rishonos. So the first 3 fasts, sheni v'chamishi v'sheni. It happens on Monday, Thursday, and Monday. V'shalosh shnios, the second three fasts, chamishi, sheni v'chamishi. They can happen on Thursday, Monday, and Thursday, because already, once they're in the cycle, the vendors will know, and this won't cause a market crash. Rabbi Yossi says, Kishem she'ein harishonos b'chamishi, just like the first three fasts cannot start on chamishi, on Thursday, kach lo shnios v'lo achronos. Same thing, not the second fast, and also not the final fasts. That was Mishnah Tes. We move on to the final Mishnah in this parak. Ein Godrin Taanis al Hatzibur Barosh Chadashim. We don't establish a Taanis on the community, not on Rosh Chodesh, but Chanukah over Purim, and not on Chanukah and not on Purim. So this is interesting. This is one of the very few times in the Mishnah where Chanukah is mentioned. And there's an entire Masechta devoted to Hilchos Purim. That's Masechtas Megillah. There is no such Masechta. We're discussing Chanukah, and Chanukah makes very brief mentions throughout the entire Mishnah. And it's the only Yantif from Megillas Taanis, which is mentioned in the Mishnah at all. And it's also the only Yantif in Megillas Taanis besides for Purim, which we still observe today. So it's kind of interesting to think that this is one of the rare times that we see Chanukah mentioned in the Megillah, and it's also not mentioned very often in the Gemara either, which is kind of interesting. But nevertheless, the halacha is brought here that we do not allow a Taanis, we do not establish a Taanis for the Tzibur on Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, or Purim. But if they already began, meaning if there's already a series of fasts, Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, and so on, ein mafsikin. We don't stop. We continue with the series of fasts, meaning we don't break the cycle. We continue after Chanukah or after Purim. Divrei Rabbi Gamliel. That's according to Rabbi Gamliel. Amar Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, Afal pi she'amar Rabbi Gamliel in mafsikin. Even though Rabbi Gamliel says we don't interrupt the fasts, modahaya she'ein mashlimin. He agrees that we don't complete the fast on Chanukah. Meaning, if Chanukah happens to fall during one of these fasts, and it makes sense that it would because Chanukah is 8 days long, so lots of chance for the fast to fall on one of those 8 days. We start the fast on Chanukah, but we don't finish the entire fast. We go through only to a certain point. V'chein Tisha B'av shechal lios be'erev Shabbos. And the same thing with Tisha B'av. If it were ever to fall out on erev Shabbos, we would begin it, but we wouldn't complete the entire fast. We would eat a little bit before Shabbos, so as not to fast the entire erev Shabbos. Of course, now that we have the calendar system set up the way we have it now by Hillel II, who started in like the 300s, where he created the calendar for the Jewish people, this will never be a problem. Tisha B'av will never fall out on erev Shabbos. With that, we finished all the Mishnayos. We get right into the Gemara. Seder Tanios Ketzad. How do we do the order of the fast days? Motzien es ateva, we take out the aron, etc. We bring it out to the street, and we put ashes on top of it, and the whole rest of the order as we learned in the first Mishnah. Va'afilu b'kamaisa, do we do the same on the first fast or only on the last 7? Raminu, there is a contradiction. We can't do it on the first 6 fasts. Why? Shlosh ta'anios rishonos l'shnios, the first 3 and second 3 fasts. Nichnasim lebeis hakneses, we enter the beis knesses. Umispalin kederach shemispalin kol hashana kula, and we daven the way that we daven for the entire year. Uishav achronos, but on the last 7 fasts, motziin es hateva l'rchova shel ir, we bring out the teva, the Aron Kodesh, to the street of the city. V'nosin and efer al gabe hateva, we put ashes on top of the teva. Uverosh hanasi, uverosh av bezdin, also on the head of the nasi, the head of the av bezdin. V'kol achad ve'achad notel v'nosin b'rosho, every single person puts ashes on his own head. And Rabbi Nassan Omar efer mikla in Navin, that they bring these ashes that they put on their head. So clearly that we only bring the teva out to the street of the city only on the last 7. Amar Rav Papa explains ki tanan nami masnisin, that when our Mishnah was teaching Asheva Achronos Tanan, it was referring to the laws of the 7 final fasts. So all the halachas that we learned in our Mishnah are referring, and many of the other things also, such as the ashes, such as the brachos that we add to Shmona Esrei. These are referring only to the last 7 fasts, not to the first 3, not to the middle 3. We go on and we continue quoting from the next part of Mishnah Aleph. Rosh HaNasi, on the head of the Nasi. V'hadar Tani, we have another brisa which taught something different. Kol echad ve'echad notel v'nosin barosho. Every single person takes and puts ashes on his own head. Any, is that true? V'hatnan. Really should say v'hatanya. We learned in our Mishnah. Rebbe says bigdola matchilen min agadol. That with something with greatness we begin from the biggest person, from the most important. V'klala, but with something with it, which is a curse, matchilen min akatan. We begin from the smallest. Bigdola matchilen min agadol. How do we know that we start when something is good or when something is bestowing honor? We start from the biggest of the people. Shenamar, as it says, Vayomer Moshe el Aharon, ule Elazar, uli Itamar. That Moshe said to Aharon, and then to Elazar, and then to Itamar. So first Moshe spoke to Aharon, who's the father, then to Elazar, who's the oldest, and then to Itamar, who was younger. So we go from bigger to younger to smaller. Uviklala matchilin min akatan. And how do we know that klala begins from the smallest? Tamar Mar, as Mar says, B'tchila nitkalel nachash. At first, the nachash was cursed. V'achar kach nitkal lachava, and after that, Chava was cursed. V'achar kach nitkal Adam, and after that, Adam was cursed, and Adam was the source of Chava. I don't know if this would apply to any other man and woman, but in this case, Chava was literally born from Adam's rib. So we go from bigger to smaller, or rather smaller to bigger in terms of klala. So the question is, how can we put the ashes on the rosh of the Nasi, who was number one, then on the Av Beis Din, who was number two, and then to the rest of the people? This seems to be klala, starting from the greatest person. So chashivusa l'ditu. So here, putting the ashes on his head is itself a chashivus, it's itself an honor. The amrilahu, because it's as if we're saying to them, aton chashivisu miboy alan rachame akuli alma, because it's on your behalf that we will get mercy for all of us. In other words, you are the ones who are getting the honor, the kavod of davening first to Hashem to bring us mercy, and that's a kavod. So it's interesting the way they twist it, because it does sound like a negative thing, but it's something that's a positive thing. That's chashuv, that's an honor. So this is how we understand this, and that's why we begin with the rosh of the Nasi. We go on. Kol echad ve'echad notel v'nosin berosho. Every single person puts ashes on his head. Amar of Adar of Hadza says, the kol echad ve'echad notel v'nosin berosho. Every single person puts ashes on their own head. Nasi v'av Beis Din dami nishklu inu v'ninchu beroshehu. So why don't the Nasi and the Av Beis Din also take ashes and put it on their own head? Because we see that the Av Beis Din and the Nasi are people who other people come and they put ashes on their head. Why can't they put the ashes on their own head? So Maishna deshakel inish achrina o manachla. Why do we have other people put ashes on their head? Why can't they put it on their own head? Amar Rabbi Abba Demin Kisari. Rav Abba from Kisari said, Eino doma mispayish ma'atzmo. There's no similarity, there's no comparison between being embarrassed from oneself, limizbayish me'acherim, from being embarrassed from other people. Vehecha manachla, and where do they put the ashes on the head? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak explains, bimakom tefillin. They put it in the place where they generally wear tefillin. Shnei Amar, as it says in the pasuk in Yeshayahu, lasum le'evale tzion letet lahem pe'er tachas efer. To place to the Evale Tzion, to the mourners of Tzion, to give them pe'er, to give them beauty, tachas efer, instead of ashes. Pe'er and efer have the same letters in Hebrew, so this is a very beautiful play on words in the pasuk in Yeshayahu, Parak Samach Aleph, one of the last prakim in Yeshayahu, and it's a very hopeful pasuk. It's saying that we were going to get beauty, pe'er, instead of the efer, instead of the ashes that we currently have. So even in this case, where we're in a very, very dire situation, there's no rain, the people are starving, there may not be much food, there's no water, and we're coming out and we're fasting and we're putting ashes on our head and we're engaging in all these difficult communal things. We're thinking about this pasuk and saying, if we do what we're supposed to do, if we come clean, if we do good, we will get pe'er instead of efer, and that's a very hopeful idea. A very beautiful pasuk to end this Amud. And with that, we will pause right here. We will continue tomorrow with Tez Zayin Amud Aleph. Hope that was clear, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.